I would say two really quick stories. One short one though. It's just we went to Kathmandu, Nepal, recorded musicians there, fell in love with the people. To me, it was like going to Mars. I'd never even imagined such a place could exist, you know. And I remember them saying like, okay, we would really love a music school in a village called Tintali, Nepal. Tintali is about 15 hours from Kathmandu, 15-hour drive with a 1-hour walk into a village. And we get there and we meet with the elders, as you always do in these places, to discuss the concept of the school and essentially to ask for permission. And they said, well, how are we going to pick the students? I said, they said, well, you have these instruments from Kathmandu that you brought, these flutes, and we don't know how to play them. So we'll line up the children, and whoever seems enthusiastic or capable of playing becomes a student. Well, that sounds fair enough, you know. But all that showed up were boys. Now, our guide was a fiery young girl from Kathmandu named Rashmi, and she's not having Rashmi, and she's not having that. You know, she's saying like, wait a minute, where are the girls?
Yeah.
And the elders say, no, they won't want to be involved in this. And she says, what are you guys, crazy? And she runs out to the little huts and she gathers a bunch of girls. And they show up and now they're in line with the boys. And this beautiful, elegant young girl picks up the flute with all this confidence and was clearly the most talented and enthusiastic child in that area. And I remember hearing that the elders said, wow, we've been wrong. We're going to include the women in our arts. So it was like women's rights in one moment of the proper
deal.
Right.
Huge.
It was the context that provided this conscious shift.
Yeah.
And so you start to see things like this that are life-changing, but happen in a flash. And so that's sort of where there's constant motivation and admiration, to be honest, with society and like the ability of people in far-off, distant lands to rise above their own issues to get to something bigger. And then our newest school is in Karina, Mali, which has been a life-changing thing for me. Karina is a 1,000-year-old village in Mali, the poorest country in the world, or one of them.
The poorest?
Certainly one of them. And this is a place made up entirely of musicians. So when the shift happened between the Ghanaian Empire, which was West Africa, and then it became the Malian Empire. And it lasted for, 600-700 years until the Berlin Treaty came in and made West Africa 12 or so countries, owned and operated by different European countries. But before that, it was the Malian Empire. And to celebrate the unity of those people, they created the village of Karina in Mali to honor the music. So many musicians in this spot average a 75-generation musician in the same spot.
Wow.
I don't even think I can go back 5 or 6 generations in my family.
No.
And they have no running water. They have no electricity. And that is the home of our newest music school. And to talk about the most incredibly humbling thing, I mean, when we said, listen, guys, we'd prefer to bring the economics to you to build the school. Would you like to do that? They said, of course, and what they did is they hired villagers in their village, and they started off by doing this swimming in the water, 10 hours a day with a bucket, scooping up sand. And they would pour it into a filter, and they would put it on the back of a little piece of wood with a wheel and a donkey. And they would take it, and they would put it, and they would make one brick. And then they would go back and make the next brick and the next one. And you're watching them literally build a brick from the sand in the bottom of the river. And then, a couple days later, there's 1,000 bricks. And the next thing you know, they've built a beautiful school by themselves for their own people with the intention of connecting to the outside world. So, it's just a constant manifestation of positivity at a deep level. And that's really what these schools are. They each have their own little gems, and that's why we realize, look, let's take people on the journey. This isn't my moments. These aren't my kids or my schools. This is as much yours as mine. This is for everyone. So it's like, hey, let's open people up to the opportunity to be a part of something. We have little kids sometimes holding a birthday party in a foreign country, and they send us $20. Instead of birthday presents, they decided to help build a school. I mean, that's more humbling than $1 million check. I mean, that means everything. So it's like, so that integrity has to be at the center of what we do. And that's what we're starting to see happen around the world, is that by people collectively wanting to make something bigger, that's exactly what we do.
How much does it cost to build a school?
It's different everywhere. It averages about $40,000 to $50,000.
40, 50 grand.
Yeah. Some of them are 10. Yeah, in Nepal.
If somebody cut you a check for 10 grand, you'd be able to build a school someplace.
Yeah.
Does the school only teach music?
No, that's the other great thing, is that it's music, it's dance, but also it's life skills courses. How to avoid violence. And you know, here's the interesting thing. In Nepal, what's happening is there's a huge amount of girls taken for the sex trade. Mm-hmm. And it's devastating these villages because they're so innocent and so beautiful, but they don't know what to do. So there's a group of women who decided to create a play that they can tour around the villages in Nepal to teach the parents and the kids what to do in this sort of confrontation and how to avoid situations that can have them being taken into the sex trade. And they've created this play that takes the children and the villagers through the process, but inspires them to now know what to do in this situation. And now that play will come to our school, we'll play for our kids. So we determine, and then in South Africa, there's a life skills course in Tonga about how to avoid drugs and violence and gangs. And so it really goes above and beyond. You know, the best thing about music, it's just the start. It's the door opener. It's the thing that says infinite possibilities with positivity. What you do inside that door, that's up to you. But that's what these schools are not. It's not like, you know, look, when you look back at my life, it's not like I wanted all music schools. I would provide, I mean, I'm into any charity. Yeah. Any positive. There's so many problems. We got so many things to fix. I don't need to pick mine over yours. I mean, anyone would work. But this just opens up a way to say, like, hey, listen, the best way to help the homeless man that drove me to want to be a better person when I was 10 in New York City is elevate the consciousness of the planet. Have people care more. If people care more, then these things will be more likely to help the people that are off there doing homeless programs. You know, if they're doing it on the ground and we're doing it with the consciousness of the planet, that's the best way to solve a lot of the problems in the world.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because the day that my friend had sent me that email that began my odyssey, which hooked my wagon to your train, I think the next day I just cut my check and put it in the mail right. and sent it to you. Tell me if this is a fair question. Tell me if this is missing the point. We're talking tonight 1 week out after the disaster in Japan as a result of the earthquake and the tsunami. With the President of the United States today on television, seeming to me anyway, to get us involved in a third war.
Right, in Libya.
A night where God only knows what's going on in Bahrain. Amen. Is it fair to ask why we're not also in the playing for change modality, building schools in Appalachia and in the United States?
Yeah.
And in culturally...
No, it's very fair to ask that. And the truth is that that's just as much in it. You know, I don't separate between a kid here in Los Angeles and especially in inner city Los Angeles. I mean, yes. They need a lot of help.
Yes.
I don't differentiate between them and Google Edu South Africa or anywhere. It's just that because of our journey, we were able to make an immediate impact quickly for less money in third world countries around the world.
Got it.
Now, not all third world countries. I mean, if you want to build a school in Sudan, it's going to cost more money than it is in inner city LA.
I see.
But in the places we were at, we could make an immediate impact right away and start to get the ball rolling with our concept of uniting schools around the world. But listen, we have just as much motivation to make a change right here in our own backyard as we do in a far off place.
So we are, as we sit here in my house, less than 10 miles from Hollywood, where I know that there are people sleeping in cardboard boxes.
Right.
and children, it's cold night, underneath the freeways. And America's hurting.
Yeah.
Is the issue that it would just cost so much more money to build a school in Hollywood or Harlem or Appalachia or Detroit? Is that why the emphasis would be to go to third world countries, because it could be done like that?
You know, I would never say that we thought that hard about it. I mean, we were in a place, we wanted to help that place connect to another place with a positive source, such as a school. So, I mean, what we're doing now is saying, look, we don't like we need to build million schools. There's a lot of schools that exist. What we need to do is provide them with resources and connections that can enhance their own quality, and then connect them to other children so that they can see the global consciousness, reduce stereotypes and prejudice. I mean, those are the things that we know we can do with a simple, tangible thing. So what happened was we recently went to MIT in Boston, and we brought in a bus of kids from a music program in Boston, all white kids, and we connect them live to our school in Guguletu, South Africa, all black kids. And you watch this happen, and what happens is, by the end of this event, it's a 15, 20-minute event, they meet each other, they play a slideshow, they ask questions, and they each perform a song. And at the end of this 20 minutes, not just those kids, anyone watching this, prejudice is gone, stereotypes are gone, they're in love. And it's like, well, now that's going to elevate the quality of life within both those cultures at the same time, and whoever watched. So I think for us, it's saying, like, we're never going to let economics get in the way. We're going to find a way. So maybe what we can do here is find a way to just enhance a program in Appalachia, but use the technology that we're getting to connect them to all the other schools, so suddenly they have a way to reach more people who can see who they are and make a face and a name to these people. Because if you can add the soul to somebody, then it's not just kids I'll never see. Now it's real. So I guess for us, it's like, listen, we don't need to build a million schools. We just need to find a way to inspire each other, and this is one path. But we need to make just as much of a change here at home in the USA, and we will be focusing more and more energy on that now that we've established something that we believe works.
Would it contradict the essential core motive and intent of Playing for Change for people to cut you a check and say, I want to designate this contribution of $1,000 to build a school here in Detroit?
Right, and anybody who's been to Detroit would never argue that that's probably one of the most important things we had better do now.
Yeah.
And no, nothing like that would ever contradict what we're doing, and we would find a way to work with other people to manifest this. I mean, listen, we just need to help each other, and we're trying to open a door where we can all lock arms, regardless of our race, our religion, our political point of view, how much money we have, you know, what religion, all of that sort of stuff can be put aside for a minute. We can say, look, we're human beings helping each other, whether it's in Detroit, whether it's in Compton, whether it's in Nepal or South Africa. The importance is the exact same everywhere. Nobody's more important than anyone else, and we're just here to try to give people a platform that we can lift people up. So we would help people in any capacity.